Thank you, Laskin Curler, and I want to thank you and the Count Curler for allowing me to raise this issue today, and I particularly thank the Minister for taking it. Minister, you're more than familiar with the Mayo Renewable Power project, which is located in the former Sahi plant just outside Killala in County Mayo. This project will give 42 megawatts of CHP power, which will greatly add to attaining our national targets in this area. At its peak, it could offer 300 construction jobs and potentially 130 full-time positions when it's up and running. It has had a checkered history. However, the plant did receive in 2012 a CHP plant certificate under the refit scheme at 100% rate, and on that basis it proceeded to construction involving expenditure to date of €95 million, a construction the sod of which was turned by the former Taoiseach Enda Kenny in huge publicity. In 2016, there were changes in the structure and the financing of the company, and it was then required to resubmit for permissions, which it received very efficiently and expeditiously from Mayo County Council and from the Environmental Protection Agency. However, the grant of the 100% rate, which had been given in 2012, was reapplied for, and this time to the Commission for the Regulation of Utilities of Water and Electricity. That application has taken 8 months to decide on, and it came back, instead of 100%, back with an 18% approval, which has completely changed the viability of the project. The project itself hasn't changed. The actual environmental impact of the project hasn't changed since 2012. Nothing has changed in this project since 2012 except this analysis. And the application for the reanalysis was made not on the back of an envelope, but by internationally renowned companies with expertise in this area, who dealt with all of the issues and presented all of the challenges, Minister, that were given. So, Minister, this project is now under threat. The job potential, the energy potential, the contribution to our carbon targets are all under threat. And I understand and I know and I appreciate that you cannot intervene in the CRU. However, that cannot make them unaccountable. But I do ask you, as a former Minister for Enterprise, is it acceptable that investors are allowed to proceed with €95 million on the basis of all of these permissions being in place, and then on the basis of a change of mind, effectively, that investment is left hanging and left in the ground? Is it appropriate that a community which is given this potential and given this offer of significant job creation and potential in terms of further energy is left hanging and without any information today as to where they can go? Is it appropriate that there's no avenue of appeal, bar a judicial review, which is enormously expensive for any business to take? Minister, again I repeat, what has changed? What has changed since 2012 in terms of the make-up of the project that has made CRU issue such a different decision today? I know you can't interfere, but we need answers. And you cannot have unaccountable government bodies going around making decisions like this. And I would appreciate if you could offer some sort of pathway that we can remedy this, that we can address this quickly, because we've already lost 8 months in their analysis, and that we can give assurance that Ireland and that Mayo is a place that you can invest in, that you can be confident about your investment, and that we are actually interested as a country in proceeding with this kind of project.
First of all, I had to acknowledge I know Deputy Calleary, as indeed Senator Michelle Mulhern, have been in touch with me on a number of occasions about this, and there is a great degree of concern in Mayo about this project, and I fully acknowledge that. I think the Deputy Calleary acknowledges in his comments that this is an entirely independent regulator, and it's independent under EU legislation. And that is the essence of the approach. What is at stake here is a decision on the level of effective subsidy that would be provided for a plant on the basis that it achieves certain desirable features that were set out in the programme agreed at EU level. And it requires the regulator to evaluate any project that comes before it and look at things like its electrical, thermal and overall efficiency, its power to heat ratios, the electricity from combined heat and power, the amount of fossil fuel displaced, and all the other issues that are set out, and the CRU have set out clearly for any investor to evaluate. So the decision in respect of its evaluation, which, as the Deputy has acknowledged, has seen a much lower certification of combined heat and power than was originally given, is a matter for the CRU. The question of accountability of the regulator is one not to the Minister but to the Oireachtas Committee, and it is open to the Oireachtas Committee to invite the regulator to attend and explain the approach that it takes. But I have full confidence in the regulator, in the fairness in the way it approaches these matters. Indeed, the OECD not so long ago did an evaluation of the CRU and the procedures and practices, and found to operate in a very strong manner. So I don't think there is any question that the CRU doesn't conduct its affairs in the fairest possible way. Now, there may be some issues of misunderstanding, and I do know that the CRU is always open to meet again with the sponsors to clarify any issues that may need explanation, or if there are issues of clarity. But I know that there was, and this was partly, I understand, the delay, there was quite an amount of information acquired and exchanged, so considerable care has been taken over this decision, to my knowledge. So, you know, I cannot intervene, as the Deputy has indicated, in a decision like this, but I can point to the fact that it is open to the company to meet with the regulator and discuss or seek explanations or engagement on some of the assessment that is being carried out. It is done against an objective set of criteria. They have assessed many other projects in similar ways, and I understand many have been well short of the 100% allocation in terms of the certification of combined heat and power. So those are the only avenues open to, obviously from the Oireachtas point of view, to invite the CRU to the committee, and from the company's point of view, can of course seek clarification of the basis of the decision that has been made. But it is not open to me to intervene in the case where an independent regulator evaluates the extent to which an application meets important criteria that must be met under this state aid provision.
Deputy Calleary.
Thanks, Minister. The independent evaluators already assessed this project in 2012 and gave it 100% certification. The project hasn't changed, and then it goes and reassesses it and then reduces 100% down to 18. We have to be able to get answers in relation to that, and I accept its independence. But, Minister, you used the phrase misunderstanding. There's a lot of misunderstanding in reduction from 100 to 18. And either the misunderstanding was in the first place in giving it the 100, which then allowed a pathway of €95 million worth of investment, or the misunderstanding is in this phase and bringing it to 18. And I certainly will pursue with Deputy Naughton, and I understand Senator Mulher is going to do the same with bringing them to the front of the committee. But as Minister for Climate Action, you've got to also be satisfied that we have the kind of pipeline of projects to assist us make our targets. And surely you should look at this project maybe from a department point of view, without interfering in the CRU, to see is it adding up in terms of the refit? Is it adding the kind of targets that you need to meet as a minister and as a department, and that we need to meet as a country? And again, I ask you, as a former Minister for Enterprise, it's not good enough just to leave this project on the fence, leaving 130 jobs in abeyance, leaving €95 million worth of investment literally in the ground, a project that many people were very happy to run and have their picture taken with, and a project that is needed in terms of regional development, but also in terms of our national targets in this area. So I accept the independence of the regulator, but they cannot be unaccountable either. and I will pursue their appearance before the Oireachtas Committee. But Minister, equally, your department needs to engage to see our other projects and is our pathway to reaching our national targets in CHP being affected by the way in which the regulator does its business.
Dara, 2 minutes.
You know, the situation is that under this scheme, we give a premium payment on the basis that high efficiency combined heat and power is delivered. So a biomass combustion that was generating electricity would get a much lower rate of electricity pricing if it doesn't meet certain criteria that set it aside as high efficiency and delivering combined heat and power, displacing fossil fuels and so on. And that's the basis on which the premium is payable. And that premium, the state aid rules underpinning that are approved by the European Union. Now, when it comes to interpretation of whether a project has met those standards, it has to be done independently of government. So those are established rules of Refit 3, and someone has to independently assess each project to see, is it delivering the efficiencies, the carbon reductions, the fossil replacements and so on that was intended by giving this additional state aid to it. And the CRU does that, and I'm fully confident that the way it does it is in a fair and objective way. Now, I haven't seen the papers surrounding this, and it would be improper that I would have seen them because it's entirely a matter for the CRU. But if a project comes in, every project that comes in is fairly evaluated against these rules. And many projects have come in and been evaluated, and not all of them are getting 100% certification. So, you know, while the Deputy rightly says we need to be attentive to achieving our climate targets, and I'm determined to step up our pace of achievement of those targets, that does not mean that a minister would be interfering in the way in which existing rules, or indeed new rules that we develop to promote decarbonisation, would be applied. That has to be done independently of government, and that's what the CRU is doing here. So, I mean, I know the Deputy wants more explanation, and I can only offer the avenues that I said already, you know, either the company approaching the CRU or indeed the Oireachtas asking the CRU to explain how it handles these applications.
Right. That completes topic.